Hello everyone. So in this video, I'm trying to create an S3 bucket from AWS Management Console. Later on, I will do the same thing from terminal, right? So without further ado, let's start. So from the Management Console, I will go to S3 service first. So if I search S3 in the search box, I get the service here and I will just click on here. And then the AWS dashboard will come up shortly, as you can see here, and then I will start creating a bucket. So I will click on create bucket, and then the bucket creation form will appear. As you see here, I will go them one by one. First of all, I need to give a bucket name, right? And very important thing, the bucket name has to be globally unique. So when I say globally unique, what do I mean? No two bucket, it doesn't matter, it belongs to same AWS account or different AWS account, or within same region or different region, regardless of where they are, where they belong, two bucket name cannot have a same name. So that what it means. Bucket name has to be globally unique. So let's give a name to my bucket. Let's say my demo bucket, very simple name. And to make sure it's globally unique, I can provide some random numbers. It could be any random numbers to make sure it's globally unique. And then I have to choose AWS region. Because I live in New Zealand, I found Sydney could be the nearest one. And it's always best practice to choose the region which is close to your end users. So I choose Sydney, right? And then you have to make sure whether you want ACL to be enabled or disabled. So ACL means access control list. So ACL is a legacy systems for S3 buckets that we used to have to give bucket access to others, but it's not recommended anymore. So I leave it disabled, right? And then we have to specify whether we want public access for this bucket. But it's always a good practice. If it's not necessary, then most of the cases we should make sure our bucket is not accessible from internet unless it's necessary. For example, if you want to host a static websites into your S3 bucket, on that occasion, bucket has to be publicly accessible, or maybe you have uploaded some documents or objects or PDF files, videos, audios that you want to be accessed outside. On those occasions, we can make it public for others, right? Otherwise, I will just block all kind of public access. Then I have to choose, do we want versioning enabled or not for that specific bucket? It's always recommended to make sure bucket versioning is enabled. Why it's recommended? Because if we accidentally delete any data, we still have some previous versions that we can recover. So it's always a good practice to make the versioning enabled, but there is a caveat, and the caveat is once we enable the versioning, we cannot disable it. We can suspend the versioning, but we cannot disable it entirely. So just bear in mind. And then we can optionally provide some tags to this specific bucket. So why we need tags? There are two reasons I can specify why you need tags. First of all, tags can help you to monitor the resources that you created. And secondly, tags can be used for cost monitoring purposes as well. All right. So for example, you might need to know how much money has been charged for the resources that you created, or how much cost has been billed for sales department for this AWS account. So for resource monitoring or for cost monitoring purposes, we can use tags, and that is very handy. So to give you some demo, I'm giving some tag to this bucket. For example, I can say the environment is developer environments. The owner is myself, is the owner of this bucket. And then I can also give another tag, let's say department, right? Department could be, let's say, marketing department. That means this bucket has been created for marketing department. All right. So then we have encryption. It's also a good practice to make sure encryption is enabled. And we have two types of encryption. We can either choose the default S3 managed keys, or we can choose the key that we can create in KMS. And to make the demo shorter, I will just go for the S3 managed keys. All right. And that's all, but I can see there's something for advanced settings. And if I go to advanced settings, I can see there is option to lock the object. So what does it mean? So it means if we enable object locking, that means it will protect any objects within this bucket from accidental deletions. All right. So it's also good options for buckets that are for production applications, right? But in our case, it's a demo bucket, and we really don't bother whether any objects within this bucket are deleted or not. So I will just make it disable. So that's all. That's all about creating buckets from AWS Management Console, right? And then I will just simply press the create button. That's all. So the bucket has been created. Just give me a few seconds. Yeah, bucket has been created. Let's see if I can see my bucket. So I will type my bucket name that I have recently created. So this was the bucket that I created just now. So if I go back to my bucket, and then I can see from properties tab that some of the details that I have provided. For example, versioning, I can see it's enabled. This is the tags that I have given, encryption enabled. There are some other settings that I haven't provided during the creation of bucket, but we can do those configurations later on once the bucket has been created. For example, I can enable access log for servers. I can configure intelligent tiering archiving options, which I will do later on. That's all I can do as well. I can also give some more permissions to this bucket. The very common one is bucket policies, as I can write some bucket policy here. You can see the block public access configurations that I have given previously. I can see from here as well. So I can make some changes once the bucket has been created as well. So that's all. But before I finish the video, I would also like to tell you how to create a bucket from the CLI. So I will go back to my CLI. This is my CLI. So I will just create a bucket from the terminal. So the command that I can use to create a bucket from terminal is very simple. It's AWS followed by S3 followed by MB, means make bucket. And I will give a random name to my bucket. It has to be globally unique. I can say my second bucket demo. And to make sure it's globally unique, I will just type a random name. And that's it. I will press enter. And shortly, you will get the bucket name returned. That means bucket has been successfully created, right? If I try to create the same bucket again, I will get an error which says the bucket has already been there, so you cannot create another bucket. So that's all. So I will just copy and paste the bucket I have created, and then I will go back to the management console and I will search my bucket again. I will refresh the bucket list before that, and then I will type my bucket name here that I recently created from the terminal. So I will paste my bucket name here, and as you can see, I can see my buckets here as well. One important thing, once I created the bucket from the CLI, as you see here, I haven't specified any other details like, do I want ACL to be enabled or disabled? Do I want public access or not? Versioning. I haven't provided any kind of those details. Then what is happening within this bucket? So basically, if you don't specify those configurations, the terminal will take the default configurations and create the bucket. For example, the bucket we have just created from terminal, as you can see, the default thing is the versioning will be disabled. There will be no tags, no encryptions, nothing. So it will come up with default settings. So keep that in mind. So that's all about creating bucket from terminal and management console. See you in the next video. Thank you.